Hello, everyone. My name is Ludas Kanapianis. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Ondato. At Ondato, we help the financial institutions to turn the compliance into the business benefit. When I was asked to share what the government can learn from the startups, I was actually excited doing so. Just a second, switching. Yeah, good. So if looking about that, if the government should pay attention to the startups, of course, we have to first talk about the impact from the startup community. So the global startup economy actually creates $3 trillion value every year for this society. Myself, I'm more from fintech sector, so I will come from this angle. Actually, I was selected the fintech leader this year, so I'm talking about Lithuanian numbers only. But even in Lithuania, we have more than 200 fintech companies that employs more than 3,000 people. Actually, even ourselves, we grew more than twice during the COVID period, which means that all the fintech sector is growing and growing significantly. And we have more good numbers about Lithuania, the Lithuanian fintech landscape here. And actually, the credits could go to the Central Bank of Lithuania that makes that happen. So what it would mean running a government like a startup. And here we can actually start with the best example we have in the world is the SpaceX company that actually competes with NASA that is fully run by the government. If you didn't know, the NASA didn't have any flights to the space because of the accidents they have. And the other problem is that they had a huge cost on running the ships to the space. And SpaceX actually took that as a challenge that they can solve, and they made it happen. So we've just recently had a flight from the private company to the space with the solving the problems they were focused on. And the real problem they were focused on is actually the waste and the price for the flight, because they could make that happen, that it would cost just way more cheaper than it used before. Here we can come to other example on focusing the problem that everyone knows is Uber. Actually, Uber made very simple thing to order a car basically to anywhere, to the airport, to your home or to the office, to take you to another place. And they focused on the real problem the user of taxi companies has. It's just to get from one point to another, and offered that making simple. And this is the first tip, like from my side, to what governments can do differently is actually to invest to understand the real problem the user is solving. And of course, that could be done without focusing on people that you are serving. Because to be honest, if look into some governmental services, and I'm using those quite a lot, some of those are created by more technical people, I would say, that are just outlisting the services or the solutions they can offer. And when sometimes from logging into the interface to ordering some kind of either extract, either new service, either fulfilling something, it looks really difficult. Of course, not on all the institutions. The credits could go to the tax authority, an example, that offered a really nice user interface for submitting your declaration. But that's the approach that has to be in all the sectors and all the institutions. And of course, this is the constant thing that the institution has to focus. The startup, by its purpose, is always looking for being the best one. Yeah, so to be the best in the market, to be the best solution, best solving problem, and all the stuff. And everybody understands that that average or just working product is not good enough. the market will just eat it. While sometimes it looks that the average or even just kind of working product is good enough for some governmental institutions. And we all understand that the design created in 2015 or the user face made in even 2010 might be not so good today. Here's the other example, of like normal bank card delivery. Yeah, so bigger or large institutions are actually sometimes acting the same as the governmental institutions, and even having in mind that lots of banks in the world belong to the government. But then players like Revolut came and actually providing the card and delivering the card like a celebration to customers' home. It shaped that totally different. And actually, it even maybe doesn't cost more than a normal envelope, but that gives a totally different approach to the delivery of your bank card or of the bank card to the customer. And that's, we all get letters sometimes from some different institutions, and that could just give, it doesn't mean that every one of us has to pack something very unique or fancy, but it just the view on the delivery itself and of the message delivered or the product delivered to someone. And of course, I just cannot touch the question of the cloud-based technologies. I know it will be banal to talk about that, about the center of registers and all this stuff, but the cloud-based technology is something that actually is delivered to all of us now, and that can be used for scalability. So the startups, when we create our products or our solutions, we focus on actually serving like 1 million, 10 million, or hundreds of millions of customers, and we are thinking of that from the day one. And cloud-based technologies gives that opportunity. Of course, we might hear that, maybe it's not so secure or so safe, but we have to remember that the same country that we're always looking at, Estonia, has the full government on cloud somewhere. And I don't think they were not thinking about the security or safety from their perspective. And of course, time is money. Startup, by its definition, is, and by its purpose, is creating the products or the solutions to serve the market in the fastest possible way, with spending as less as possible. It means that any startup, when focusing on some kind of problem, is delivering the MVP or minimal viable product first, to deliver that as fast as possible to the market, to test it, and then if it works, to scale it, to develop it, and to focus on it, or if it doesn't, just to throw it away and to focus on another problem and to deliver another product. Sometimes when in the governmental projects, when we look at the delivery or the development of those, it sometimes looks that time doesn't exist, and the infrastructure is created can be done like 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years, and it's normal. But actually, it's not, because if we want to really solve the problems and to deliver the things either better, either faster to our society, we have to do that on the really fast way and to find the quick solutions. And of course, the teams. So there's really lots of good managers in the governmental institutions, and there's really good developers there. But we talk, in example, with investors a lot. And the first question about if to invest into some kind of startup or not is actually, what is the team and the full team behind that startup? So, and it means it has to be covering not only the kind of management or the owner or some kind of developers, but also who will actually perform that, who will think about the user experience, who will talk, who will lead the product, the project managers, and so on. And this team has to be focused on the delivery, the results quick. And let's take a look at a few examples on the pandemic period, how the public sector reacted versus the startup community or the private sector. And here's the first example during this COVID period, of course, could be medicine itself. So the public sector during the time actually just kind of closed their doors, did not accept any customers, patients, and waited for some instructions from the ministry. While in the private sector, the new startups arise, offering the telemedicine products with the live video conversations and all this stuff. Lots of solutions for that arise. The private sector itself, of course, also accepted that and started serving the clients, because the client, the patient, is the first to think about. Yeah? So that other diseases or something did not stop. The second example could be education versus private education. And actually, this COVID period, I know that even started a few startups here in Lithuania, and that are really showing good results. And I believe that they will be really famous in the world. So how they reacted for this remote education stuff. So private sector in general didn't have any problems, or even they had already in place all the procedures for the remote onboarding, and some of them even offered that to the public free of charge. While the governmental education or our public education system was actually like shocked of all the situation. Then we're looking for some kind of solution. So how to do that, how to organize the work, what kind of tools to use, and there were really lots of even technical problems during that. What actually, from like our startup perspective, looks a bit of insane, because we have the best internet speed, we have all the technologies in place, and there's lots of bunch of things that we can just use, and even free of charge, to just enable something happen. So it's the reaction of our actions just to be taken. Then the other example could be employment service versus the private trainings or seminars or whatever. So during the COVID period, the employment service actually was just also stopped. Yeah, so it just did not accept any customers, like unemployed people, and no actions were taken of serving that. While there was just a bunch of new businesses, new startups, online seminars, even we can give credits to Meta that organized even a full show, in online. That was the FinTech week here in Lithuania, and that was just switched, quickly to the situation we had. While some of the public service was just completely stopped and not provided to its customers, to users. And something more closer, let's say, to our field, what we're working, as the fourth example I could give, would be the migration department versus the banks. Because when COVID situation happened, all the services of renewal and everything, or taking the passports, was just stopped. And it's actually now happening in other institutions and other countries, that there's still lots of people that, like now more than half a year, don't have the new documents. Of course, it might be not a big problem, when we have bans in traveling, and maybe people don't need a new document. On the other hand, they still are using the services, and they are showing the documents to other service providers. While the banks during the time, and there we helped a lot as well to the financial sector, just offered the online video solutions, and that's it, and just replacing the physical meeting and meeting the person with a simple communication that I'm coming to you now, with the just showing the document, presenting himself, and that's it. And that's the approach of the problem, of course, because the government understands that it will kind of not stop anyway. Yeah, so that they will have their salaries going on and all the stuff, while the private sector just have to think so what to do and how to react in that situation. So from the, as I mentioned, only from the fintech perspective, at what we could share, let's say from the technology part that could be applied now in the public sectors, and what is developed here in Lithuania, it's not of course only by us, but by our community. So we're using lots of face recognition technologies, big data analysis, artificial intelligence and machine learning, optical cognitive recognition, cloud technologies, banking core. I'm mentioning that because I've heard the initiative of opening the government bank. So there's really no need to create anything up there. You just have to take this really bunch of good companies creating banking core solutions and this kind of stuff for those more than 200 fintech or financial companies here in Lithuania. And of course, anti-money laundering and know your customer technologies that are very spreadly used here in Lithuania. So I hope that I've shared something with you and you have something to take from this presentation. My name is Liudas Kanapienis. I'm the CEO of Fondato. Thank you very much.